Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys now, okay?
Mhm.
The conference has been muted.
All right, great. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It looks like we have a pretty good turnout. We have this new franchisee webinar series that we're doing every month, and we're inviting our new franchisees on to talk about different topics, part of our ongoing training for you all. We know some of you literally just came through class, and some of you have been doing this for a little while now, so there's different degrees of understanding and kind of where you're at in the process. But if you have questions specific to your situation and where you're at, we'll definitely open it up and help you out the best we can. So today we're going to focus on selling custom care services. The question is, what is custom care? So for us, it's really similar to the idea of, do you want fries with that? A McDonald's kind of upsell situation. McDonald's and other fast food chains make a huge profit on their side items due to the low cost of these products, and that's very much how custom care works for lawn care and for Lawn Doctor. We offer other services aside from our main maintainer program that have a low cost in material and a low cost in time and labor for a higher profit margin. So sometimes franchisees, are a little nervous, a little apprehensive to start selling those custom care services, but what we want to do is provide you some additional tools and get you to start to feel comfortable doing that so you can start to increase those profit margins and the customer value. So the benefits to selling custom care. Obviously, the increased revenue is a huge benefit. The higher average customer value. Across the board, it's very clear to see what franchisees are taking advantage of the custom care services that we're offering and who is not. Just strictly based on, is your average customer value $400 or is it $1,100? You're really able to increase your average customer value just by offering some of these custom care services. An increased retention rate, having offered more than just a maintainer program and being able to give your customers more, if they're more likely to stay with you because they're getting the full service from you directly. And then the services, as I mentioned, having a higher profit margin, as opposed to just a maintainer program, adding a little side service that doesn't take much cost in material or much cost in your time, and really being able to make a higher profit from that. So we want you to be able to focus on those options.
Sure, and the increased revenue, right, that's going to allow you to use some of that money to react to what's going on in your market. So if you're in Texas or Georgia and you have armyworms come in, well, you can do a quick turnaround, get some marketing out, a Facebook campaign, things like that to garner more sales, right? The more, what we find at Lawn Doctor, the more a customer spends with us, the likelier they are to renew every year, okay? And that's what we want. The increased retention rate, able to, spent a lot of time over the winter talking with my current franchisees, and we're talking about a 1% increase in or decrease in their profit and loss statement and how that equates to dollars. So the increased retention rate with a cost of sale, $150 to $200 in some cases, everyone you can save, that saves you a lot of money. So these are some of the other benefits of selling custom care. So I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a Webb's report. It comes out every week, and it's broken into two categories: new sales, which really means new customers or new programs. And the programs that we record here are your maintainer care, a pest control, perimeter pest control, which most of you do not do, and tree and shrub, although tree and shrub actually has its own. So the new sales are really just new lawn care customers. On the other side, this is new custom care sales to those new customers or to your existing customers. And if you look at the numbers here, this report was taken from November of last year. We had $46 million in new custom care sales. So that's a huge number. And you can see both new customers and custom care were both up about 15%. So we really, those guys that were involved last year, Lawn Doctor did really, really well across the board last year. So if we follow that up, this is an individual Webb's report for one of my guys in New York who's getting hammered with snow right now. And if you look down at the totals area, you can see that he made $541,000 in custom care sales. Okay? That is a sale that has a very low cost and a very high profit margin. Now, what I want to point out to you, because I look at this all the time with my guys, is the next line is custom care to BIF. It says 70.79. So what that means, his BIF is $765,000, and he's selling an additional $541,000. So he's at 70%. That's a phenomenal number there. And yet I have guys that are over 100%. So if they sell $100 in lawn maintainer care, they're selling $105 in custom care, and they're blowing their profit margin right out the door by doing that. So that's a number that I like to track with my franchisees. Okay? Has everyone looked at this report when it comes out?
They're muted, so they can't talk.
Okay, sorry. Why don't you unmute them, please?
Okay, sure.
The conference
Okay,
has been unmuted.
I don't have to say that. So do you guys look at the Webb's every week?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay, so this is sort of a health report for Lawn Doctor, right? We look at it every single week. Part of this is the top 10, and you don't have to, you could be a brand new guy and show up in the top 10. It happens all the time. So this is something you should look at, compare to maybe the guys you went through class with, or compare to other people in your region, and just see your growth from week to week. So when I stated that the custom care number to BIF is 70%, Lawn Doctor starts recognizing franchisees at our conferences when they're up around 20%, right? So they get an award for being at 20%. Then they get an award for being at 50%. Then they get an award for being at 75 or over. So the opportunity is there for you to increase your profit margin tremendously. So we have a question from Homer. Question is, what is BIF? BIF stands for Business in Force. That is the value of your however many services are in your maintainer program. 6, if you're in Florida or Texas, maybe 7 or 8. So the value of those, let's just say 6 services, that's BIF. Okay? Homer, is that good?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's good.
Okay. It gets to be a little funny number later in the year. So if you sell someone and it's July and you sell them the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th service, the BIF still shows up as 6 services. Okay? So BIF is a good number, but it's really just a number on paper, right? I'm looking at profit and revenue, okay, and custom care sales. So any questions on this report?
Yes, if you sell mid-year, it reports 6 or 7 sales growth, but it's giving you a projection for next year if you
Correct.
all your things.
Correct. Okay, and I think we use that to compare with other other companies in the industry as well. Any other questions?
All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward. So obviously this is money we don't want to leave on the table. So we want to talk a little bit about, the actual custom care services that a lot of you would be utilizing. So we'll touch on the warm season market and then also the cool season market. A lot of them overlap, but we kind of split them up here. So Rocco, if you want to go, and I'm gonna mute everybody just for now. Yeah.
The conference has been muted.
Okay.
The conference has been muted.
Okay.
Thank you. So, custom care for warm season markets, and there's more than this. This is just what we pulled out. You have palm tree care, things like that. Fire ant control, that sells itself. I mean, if I were down there, I would be selling the hell out of that. Disease control is extremely important down south. The disease pressure is much, much, much higher. Flea and tick, or tick and flea, however you want to word that, is another example of custom care. Now, custom care services can be individual services. So in the case of a pH adjustment or a grub control, that's one service, right? But a lot of the other services listed here are actually multiple service programs, right? So bed weed control, that has, depending where you are, it could have 3 or 4 services in that program or in that package. Disease control certainly has multiple services. Mosquito has multiple services. So these are wonderful, wonderful custom care services to sell because it's recurring revenue, right? And we're going to renew those services like we renew their lawn care. We assume the renewal. So, yeah, most of my territory is cool season grass. So the only thing we don't automatically renew is power seeding. Every other service we sell, if we sell an aeration, it's automatically renewed for next year. If we sell a grub prevention, it's automatically renewed for next year. And it's the same for all of these other services, right? So you don't want to just sell the service. You want to sell the service and make sure it's marked renewable in the Real Green system. Okay, so when that customer, you send them a renewal offer at the end of the year, November, all of those services show up. Okay, so the worst thing you get is a call saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't want the aeration this year." Hey, no problem. We'll take it right off. Okay, so but any service such as mosquito or fire ant, where you're protecting the health of the family, of the kids, and of the pets, and that's an easy renewable service, as well as flea and tick. And it's those multiple service programs that are really, really beneficial to your pocketbook and to the bottom line.
And I switched out the slide. This is the cool season market ones. A lot of them are similar. There's a couple of differences. Power seeding, obviously, is a big one that Rocco mentioned. And there are other services than the ones listed here, but these are a lot of the, the main ones that most of the country handles.
Yeah, so if you need a special license, right, in New Jersey, it's not my territory, but I'm licensed in New Jersey, I need a separate license for mosquito. So whatever that extra license is, whatever you have to do to work on it, let's get that job done so you can go out and sell or protect the health of your customers by selling them a mosquito program. So, how do we sell custom care? The easiest way to sell custom care is using the AMA, the Automated Marketing Assistant, through Service Assistant. Is everyone? I want to ask that. That's using, on every visit, you visit the lawn, you enter in a condition code or you write it down, you bring it back to the office, and an after-service email goes out stating, hey, we serviced your lawn today. Below are the things we found, good or bad, with your lawn. And then those condition codes will generate a paragraph, a line, or a note based on what they found. So if you go out and the soil is very compacted, you use a CS condition code for compacted soil, and that's going to generate in the email a paragraph about core aeration. And then it's your job to sell that core aeration, right? The email is only the first step. If you send that email and never call that customer, guys, customers are busy. They've got so many things going on that they may not even open the email. So it's your duty, right? You're obliged to call them and say, hey, I was on your lawn, or hey, I'm Rocco, I'm your technician. I noticed today that one area in the backyard that the grass doesn't seem to be growing. The soil there is rock hard. You need an aeration, and then we can get that lawn to where you want it to be. So it's not just sending the email, it's following up on the email.
And just in regards to that, AMA, again, is Automated Marketing Assistant. That's through Real Green. So if you have questions about that, if some of you may not be as familiar with it having just come through, we can certainly talk about that offline and utilizing that service. But make sure you've had your Real Green training first before we, kind of dive into that a little bit.
Okay. So another one we're gonna pick out here is pest in the bag. So whether it's you or your technicians, when you're out servicing, you want to observe the entire property. So you went to a customer, you sold them lawn care, but they have beautiful trees and shrubs. And if you get there and you see bugs chewing on a leaf, or you just see a chewed leaf, or a leaf with a hole in the middle of it, that's a sign of disease, or a sign of insects. So we have a program called Pest in the Bag. It's really not the pest. You don't want to.
Don't put dead bugs on your customers' doorknobs. That's not what we're telling you to do.
Yeah, you just take the leaf or a few leaves off of that shrub, put it in a plastic bag with maybe a pest strip explaining the tree and shrub program. You'll enter that condition code so they get more information in the after-service email, and then you, your tech, or your salesperson, which may be you all wrapped into one, you'll make that phone call and follow up. That's a very successful way to sell tree and shrub, because tree and shrub is hard to price if you can't just say if it's a 3,000 square foot lawn, the trees and shrubs are going to be $120 a visit. It doesn't work that way.
And Alan, I see you noted about the condition codes. We're actually going to get a little bit more into that in a couple slides. So I'll wait until we get there, and then if you still have some questions, we can address those.
So if you're in a regional marketing area, or you're running your own pay-per-click campaign or your Facebook campaign, these are other areas when the timing is right that you can sell custom care to non-customers, right? So last August, I think it was Alex Marshall, ran a power seeding campaign on Facebook and pay-per-click, and he sold 30 or 40 power seedings, which is a very high dollar, profitable custom care service. And then his job was then to convert that person that took that very expensive service to sell them the last 2 services of the year and then send them a renewal letter for this year. So that's how custom care can increase your customer count, your CIF. Because really, truthfully, guys, you're brand new, that's what you want to do. You want to get as many customers as you can, okay? Once you have the customer, then we can upsell them and make them more valuable to you. And we're going to touch on new customer visits, and we're going to touch on summer checkups, which I think are one of the 2 best ways to sell custom care. But we have a guest that is going to talk about that. Right now, Jess is going to talk about some of the collateral materials that you have in your package that help you sell custom care?
Sure. So a lot of the pieces we're talking about are found on Lawn Doctor Forms, which is the Real Green site, and they do all the printing. But most of the items that we're talking about were in your startup package that you all received. So a couple of the things I want to talk about, we have pest strips, nature notes, things of that nature. We have the plastic bags. We have the sales folders. We have a lot of door hangers and things offering upsells for core aeration, power seeding, and those sorts of things. So really go through your materials, because a lot of the stuff we're talking about you already have, and you don't need to go out and purchase anything additional when it comes to the actual physical pieces of collateral on some of the educational materials that you can leave behind after you've done an evaluation or even, your first service or something to that effect.
So do they get sticky notes, the custom care sticky notes in their package?
I'll double check. I do think they have Post-its in there.
Yeah.
So we try to provide you with a lot of the initial materials. We know sometimes custom care is not, a primary focus at the beginning, but we do want it to start to be part of the conversation. And you guys take advantage of the opportunities that you have when you're out there selling an initial maintainer and possibly being able to piggyback some of these services onto that. So the next thing I'm going to hop into here, we have a gentleman on the line who is a general manager in Massachusetts, and I know that he really does focus on kind of the new customer visit. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute him and have him talk to you guys a little bit about what he does. And then we could also show you the form that we have that's available as well, in addition to some of the things that he's able to do. Just give me a second here. I believe.
And Derek has been with Lawn Doctor, I think this is his third or fourth year.
Derek, do I have you unmuted?
I believe so.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, Derek, so would you mind talking a little bit about your experience selling custom care and more specifically the new customer visit?
Sure. I guess the start of the process is we schedule a new customer visit to every single one of our new customers, and we start doing that usually about mid-June, when the busier sales season starts to slow down a little bit. But I guess what I do every day, or I try to do every day, we go through the routing assistant, and I usually route out about 10 or 15 of these visits to do each day, obviously trying to make sure that the route is tight so I can get as many done as I can in a day. So I schedule them like I normally would schedule a regular route for the technicians, and I head out. I usually load up my truck with a variety of different things each day. I'll bring seed with me and a garden weasel. I'll have a backpack to be able to treat weeds, and a couple other various things. But usually the approach is I'll pull up to the house and knock on the door and try to introduce myself and let them know why I'm there, who I am, and why I'm there. I try to get people to get out onto the lawn so that you can have a conversation and show people what may be going on their lawns. It creates a lot more value when they're face-to-face. Usually just have a conversation with the customer, ask them if they have any concerns, the specific concerns, and it really gives the customer a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. So you walk around the property, have a conversation, you try to identify different issues that are going on with the lawn, and offer solutions to those different problems they may be having. And it's a really great tool for selling custom care. So obviously people are busy and you can't reach everybody while they're there. But we also have cell phones where we'll, if I see a big problem, I'll typically call from the property, call whatever phone number. We have a lot of different cell numbers on people's accounts, so I'll call the cell phone first and try to get a hold of them and say, hey, this is Derek. I'm at your property right now. I've identified this issue that I think we really should take care of. And people are pretty responsive to that. If we can't get a hold of them on the phone, what we'll do is we'll create a call log for all the condition codes that we ran in that day. I do my best to follow up to everybody that night before I head home from work. with a phone call to say, hey, I was out at your property today. This is what I found. And I leave them messages if I can't get a hold of them. And then we usually try to follow up a few times with them to let them know everything that we saw. And kind of goes from there. But I guess it's just a great way to generate some extra sales. And it's also a really good tool to follow up on what your technicians are doing, because you're able to identify, issues that your technicians might be causing if they're not doing good applications or if they're not getting good weed control. And then it warrants a conversation with the technicians that you have.
And Derek, can I ask you, what do you find most successful as far as the custom care sales that you're able to sell?
I would say power seeding and core aeration and seeding services are probably the biggest ones, especially for new customers. I always try to tell people, you're on a maintainer program, but sometimes you need these extra services to get the lawn up to the next level, and they're usually pretty receptive to it.
So from a business of keeping customers, this helps greatly in touching that first-year customer, having them feel comfortable with you, building a rapport with that customer. So, the biggest problem at Lawn Doctor was 50% of our first-year customers would quit. So by implementing a program like this, that took that 50% conversion rate or cancellation rate and dropped it all the way down to 15 or 20%. So now some franchisees actually retain more of their first-year customers at a higher percentage than they do their multiple-year customers. So it does a great job there. Plus, again, it sells custom care and puts more money and more profit in your pocket.
Yep.
And I just want to touch on, I'm pulling up this new customer visit form here. Rocco, if you want to talk a little bit about this, where they can find this and that sort of thing.
Sure. Any of these forms, David Schneider is very good at modifying them. Okay, the form on the screen has a picture of R.J. Rolak in the bottom right-hand corner. I wouldn't recommend using his photo. He's not a handsome guy, but hey. But here it says, today we performed a unscheduled, and I can't read it, but basically it says,
an unscheduled visit to access the process of your property with Lawn Doctor's Care Services. And then it gives you the options to kind of check off some of the things that you've seen or that might be helpful to address.
And some owners, they base their entire sale process on this new customer visit. They're going to say, in the email it'll say, hey, as we promised you at the time of sale, this is your free customer visit, and here below are the items that we found. So it can be done with a form, or it can be done just with the AMA after service email.
The conference has been unmuted.
So I want to go ahead and just open it up. If anybody has any questions specifically on the new customer visit, or, for Derek specifically, if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to go ahead.
Any questions for Derek?
Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you, Derek. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Next up, I'm going to ask if he's on the phone. Craig, are you on the phone? The answer to that is no, because he's getting 1.5 feet of snow where he is in upstate New York. So I'm going to take the place of Craig Artist. He is my franchisee, so I'm pretty familiar with the process he uses to sell custom care. So what Craig does is he uses the summer checkup as the tool to sell his custom care services. Okay, so the summer checkup usually takes place in the July-August time frame when the lawns look their worst. They're stressed, they may be dormant, they're thin. So the summer checkup is, as Derek said, either the owner or a sales guy, or Craig uses his own technicians, uses one of the forms from David Schneider And on that form, it's going to print what the customer already purchased. So you don't sell someone an aeration who got an aeration in the spring, let's say, okay? And you use this tool to do an evaluation, leave it with the customer, okay, during, with the service if the technician is doing it. And then the key is the follow-up, right? So you'll leave 10 of these and one person will call and say, hey, yeah, I want that aeration overseed, sign me up. Okay, but you left 9 other ones recommending the same thing and they don't call you back. If you call those 9 people, you could get 4 or 5 additional sales, right? And they're entrusting you to take care of their lawn. They didn't hire you to treat it 6 times or 7 times or 8 times. They hired you to manage their lawn and their landscape. Okay, so Summer Checkup again is a great tool that many franchisees use. This was around long before AMA, but some guys still do both. They do AMA every service with that after service email, and then in that summer time frame, they're doing the Summer Checkup, and then following that up with phone calls and making those additional sales, which again means additional revenue and additional profits.
And I do have you guys unmuted. Everybody's being really good about being quiet on that side, so I appreciate that. So if you have any questions and you just want to shout them out, that's totally fine. We're going to go ahead and touch on, I know somebody had a question about it, so Rocco's going to talk a little bit more about the condition codes, kind of how that works, a little bit of where you can find that and do that. Yep.
Just, I got a quick question. That last form, like the warm season summer checkup form, is that something for David Schneider?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Want to back up a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
One slide. Yeah, and there's many different versions of this.
I think there's different options where you can have some offers on the bottom and that sort of thing if you want to get into that.
Yeah, there's a summer checkup that the bottom of it is all about mosquito, if you can do mosquito.
Okay.
Your goal, guys, isn't to go out there and check every box and check every custom care service, because you're not going to make that sale, right? Check the things that they need. If they don't need anything, well, guess what? They need mosquito and they need core aeration. Everybody needs core aeration. I don't care how good the lawn looks. So there's always something you can do. And again, mosquito or fire ant or flea and tick or tick and flea, those are all viable services that everyone can benefit from. All right, so let's talk about condition codes. And if you've had your startup from Real Green and the follow-up where David Schneider set up your CAW, the canned copy that you see in the bottom left, that's probably already in there, okay? Now, what we tell people is, look, just copy what we have in the grid, but then you're free to go in and modify that any way you want, all right? So if we look at above that box, the customer action box, we see different categories of condition codes. So the first 4 are customer visits. So that would be used in what Derek was talking about with the new customer visit form or AMA and the after service email to recommend things as aeration overseeding. There's a note in there showing improvement. Hey, your lawn is looking better. Keep up the good work. Keep the watering up. So we're not only selling every time we send these emails, we're communicating. Right? We're communicating. And then it could tell them, this is what we did. We did a soil enrichment. While we were there, we sprayed your weeds. They didn't ask us to come. This is a free visit we're doing as added value for them to be a Lawn Doctor customer. So it's a very flexible service, right? We can do it in French or Spanish if we wanted to. But it's something that everybody that is using, whether they're using Mobile Live or whether they're just coming back, scanning the invoices in and manually entering the condition codes, It's the way that I think you want to train your technicians to think using those condition codes. Okay? And as you gain more experience, right, the condition code list is 90 condition codes. We don't want our technicians going through 90 condition codes. That'll take too long and defeat the whole purpose. So as you gain experience, you know on round one, you're going to see these 7 or 8 things. So you give them a cheat sheet. These 7 or 8 things are what I want you to look for. On round 2, these 5 or 6 things. On round 6 or round 5, these 5 or 6 things. So you just make it easier for your technician to help you out, to sell. You know, and I believe that if the technician, makes a recommendation, follows up with a phone call, and sells it, I think he deserves a few bucks for that. You reward them for that. Some guys that have salespeople will split that commission. The technician's job is make the recommendation. The salesman's job is to sell it, and they split that commission, whatever it is. Okay? So, very valuable tool. If you're not familiar with it, get with your RBC or maybe your mentor and get a little bit more versed in condition codes. Okay? Anybody have any questions? Great. So the next slide is 16 years old.
Okay, I have a question then. I do have a question back there, Rocco. I was thinking you were going to go on to where do you enter it. Is it in the production entry of into the service assistant that you mark down the condition codes?
Yeah, when you scan the invoice back in, it's right on that screen.
Okay.
Okay? I don't have Real Green on where we are to pull it up. But, yeah, it's right there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So before I came to Lawn Doctor, I had my own business and spent a couple days in training on customer service. And I took some of that information and kind of applied it to what we do here. So at the bottom of the pyramid is everybody in the United States. So they're all suspects. They become a prospect when they meet our demographics that we're going after. Single-family home, 2-owner income, or income of, $50,000 or above, right? And then when they become a customer, that means you sold them, all right? But as soon as they buy an additional service, now they're a client. They're more important, okay? And if you treat the clients as well or better than they expect to be treated, then they become your salesman. They're going to become a cheerleader for your company. So this is sort of a guerrilla marketing tactic that you don't have to do, right? That customer is going to become a cheerleader. So when I was in business, it's funny, it's not the happy customer, right, that becomes the cheerleader. It's someone who had a problem, whether it was with me or a previous company. So this definitely applies to us. So if someone had TruGreen and they were treated like TruGreen treats most of their customers, and they come to you, that customer hopes to be treated better, but expects to be treated like they were at TruGreen. So if you exceed their expectation, they're going to tell their friends and neighbors. And that's the beauty of it. Another way you turn someone into a cheerleader is someone calls you and complains. And they're screaming and yelling, and you use the LAST method I told you guys about in class, if you remember, and you turn that customer around, and then you follow up and say, hey, how are we doing? You can turn that customer into a cheerleader as well. Okay, so just a little evolution of how you can increase custom care using your customers to do the marketing for you.
Now I just want to switch gears just real quick. I mean, there's a lot of custom care services, and obviously mosquito control is a big part of Lawn Doctor now. I know some of you are able to do it now. Some of you are going to have to wait a little bit depending on where you are. But we just want to touch on that specifically, just briefly, the custom care of mosquito control and why that's so valuable.
Sure. So, and like Jess said, this really applies to any of the custom cares that we choose. But mosquito is such a beneficial program for your customers, a high dollar program, and a high profit program for you. Okay. So, when you're selling something, you're selling the benefits, right? So the biggest benefit is it reduces the health risk associated with mosquitoes and the diseases that they carry. And they're being, that disease list is growing and the map is ever expanding, so something that was in Texas and Florida 3 years ago is now in Chicago and New York, right? Global warming. It only stands to reason. Okay, so our particular mosquito program, let's say it's a 5-service program, starting in April and ending in April, May, June, July, August, ending in September. That doesn't mean you're not going to do an additional service. If you have a warm fall and it's still above 55 degrees into October, and certainly the further south you are, that just means you're going to sell more services. Okay? Again, back to the benefit. It allows your customer to enjoy the outdoors with their family and pets. But it's an educational process as well, right? If you pull up to the house and there's beautiful flower pots everywhere, you look at that and see mosquito breeding ground. If you see 2 or 3 bird baths spread out in the backyard that are in a fountain with running water, hey, warm temperatures, standing water, 10 days, you got mosquitoes. We're going out every 4 to 6 weeks. You could have 3 generations of mosquito if that customer doesn't empty out that bird bath every 7 days. So it definitely is give and take. The customer has to help with certain things you don't have any control over. Now, you could take a BTI dunk, a mosquito dunk, break off a little piece, sprinkle it in the bottom of that bird bath. Not going to affect the birds, but it's going to keep the mosquitoes from, the eggs from developing into viable adult mosquitoes. So there are certain things you can do there. And this is the service that's done with the Solo or the Steel mist blower, right? Using a mixture of Talstar Pro, Nyguard, which is an insect growth regulator, and a sticker. And those 3 products we get special pricing from, used to be called Residex and now called Target. But if you have any questions on that, you can contact Chris Sherrington, myself, or any of the other RBCs, and we can put you in contact with our national rep at Target, Lisa DiDomenico. Another way that you can sell mosquito control, maybe on a commercial level, is at wedding venues, outdoor, anything outdoor. If someone is having a graduation party, they put up tents in their backyard, you can sell them a mosquito treatment for that holiday event. You can charge them $250. You can go the morning of, or you can go the day before, right? And that's another way to generate revenue, and then possibly sell them a program or a package moving forward.
And we do have a lot of franchisees who are doing that. I literally just created a piece for somebody yesterday who was doing some events that were focused on just event sprays. And we have some great pieces and things that we can offer you if that's coming up and it's something you want to do, some leave behind brochures and things that are kind of like, regardless of the event you're planning, mosquitoes shouldn't be on the guest list kind of thing, and just offering these one-off event sprays. And it's a really nice way to get in front of some people that you may not normally be able to get in front of. and like Rocco said, sell a larger program down the line by proving that these event sprays really do work.
And I know some franchisees that have hooked up with a restaurant that has outdoor seating, and they're out there every 3 weeks treating that area so that their customers can enjoy their food without, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Okay, so to summarize, custom care is definitely high profit. That's the French fries. That's supersizing the meal. That's what our custom care services do. It's easy to sell. They already trust you. They hired you for the lawn. You're the expert. Make the recommendation and follow up. Follow up is the key to anything you do, whether it's custom care or when you did an eval, you have to follow up. Always ask for the sale. Hey, we can do that on our next visit. We can do it next week. Is that okay with you? Follow up, and remember, you're the expert. I don't care if you just went through class. You know more than 90 to 95% of your customers do. Okay? So those are a brief summary of the value, as well as increased retention and some of the other things that we've already touched on earlier in the presentation.
And I just want to mention, a lot of what Derek was saying and some of what Rocco was saying, a lot of these things can be done in your quote-unquote slow time, when maybe the phone isn't ringing and you can get out there in the summer and try to do some of these upsells. So there's always something for you to be selling. There's always something for you to be working on and working towards. And we do find that, if we can get you guys a little bit more comfortable with this process and a little bit more comfortable with the idea of custom care at the beginning, overall your success rate and retention rate is just going to be higher. Our best franchisees, our most profitable franchisees are utilizing and selling tons of custom care. So we want to get you guys in on that from the beginning so you're able to reap those benefits.
And just let me say one thing, right? So we all have a value system in our heads. Don't assume that the customer has that same value system, right? So if you're going to sell them a power seating for $1,200, but you would never pay that, don't do that. Sell them what they need. Let them make the decision, okay? If they need 3 things, sell them all 3 things. Don't think that they can't afford it or you're being too pushy. Again, you guys are the experts already. You're already the experts. And if you don't have an answer, you have 5 phone numbers in your phone that can connect you to an expert. Okay? Does anyone have any questions overall?
I'll add something onto what you just said, Rocco. This is Kevin. And also another thing, too, is about pitching them everything you can. Is a no right now may not be a no in a couple days. I had one where a guy wanted just the maintainer program, but he had asked about fire ants. So I quoted him on it, and that same weekend when he went to mow his grass, he got bit by fire ants, called me up and said, let's add it on. So
exactly. Sure.
Always offer everything that's recommended. Even if I don't say no now, it could be a yes down the road.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's great, Kevin. I mean, you just came through, and you're already offering that. So it's just the kind of idea of don't be afraid to offer it, and like Rocco said, don't assume that because you wouldn't buy it, they wouldn't buy it.
Right. And what's the worst thing that happens? They say no. Did that hurt? No, that didn't hurt.
No, the fire ant bite hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Or the mosquito bite. You say to the customer, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if you don't take this fire ant program? Well, guess what? You're going to get bit by fire ants. Or what's the worst thing that will happen if you don't take my mosquito program? So, any other questions?
I have one customer the other day that said, hey, I'll buy whatever you sell me the first of the year, but don't upsell me throughout the rest of the year. And I know there's a place to check upsell, don't upsell per customer request, which I did. But if we put a condition code down, will it automatically upsell that, I wonder?
Yes. If if there is a customer action condition code or a paragraph associated with that condition code, it is going to generate that after service email with that upsell. So certainly, Alan, you want all the customers you can possibly get.
Yep.
But usually people that don't buy anything extra end up canceling anyway.
Okay.
So, you know, you're new, you got to take every single person you can. And another thing you can do is include a common custom care service for your area with your maintainer package. Say, hey, my gold program contains 6 maintainer services and preventative grub. Well, the other company is pitching this. We say, well, I have an economy program that I can match that price, but most of my customers are much more satisfied on my gold program or my silver program. You know, something like that. So you can also, you know, sell a custom care right off the bat by picking one that everybody knows they need. And that's different for, you know, different parts of the country. So.
You'd mentioned a cocktail for the mosquito. I knew about the Tau Star and the sticker, but I didn't know about the third item. And what was that item?
Nygaurd, Nygaurd. It's an IGR, or an insect growth regulator.
Oh.
So what that does is prevent the different stages of the mosquito. It affects all the stages, but the last stage, the pupa. So if the mosquito's in the pupa, that's not going to help you, but the egg to the larva, you know, is going to hurt that mosquito. It's going to hurt an adult in the fact that the eggs won't be normal once it contacts that IGR.
And that's sprayed, of course, on the leaves and that's how they come in contact with it.
Correct.
Okay. Now some of the competitors, I believe, spray the grass. And
Okay.
I don't think that was part of our training. Is it necessary to spray grass?
Right now, I would guess 50% of the franchisees spray the grass, and 50% just do the perimeter.
Okay.
Okay. Spraying the grass, there's a mosquito called the salt marsh mosquito, which will live in the grass. But usually you have to be within 25, 30 miles of salt water to have that mosquito. But certainly, spraying the grass helps make the sale because most mosquito companies don't spray the grass.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, great. I want to thank Derek Brierly for coming on and helping us out today. Thank you, Derek. And good luck, guys. Go out there and make some sales.
Yep, absolutely. And this webinar will be available. I'll send out a link along with the other webinars we've done up to this point. If you think of any questions that you have following this webinar, please feel free to reach out to myself or Rocco, and we will put you in touch with the right person to help guide you through, you know, utilizing some of these techniques and materials that, you know, you already have available to you. Have a great day, guys, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.